about the author Jim Murphy, it kind of makes sense. This isn't just some, armchair
Oh,
philosopher.
yeah.
The guy's a performance coach who's worked with everyone,
Yeah.
from the Chicago Cubs to Olympic athletes.
So it's definitely got the credibility. But what can we learn from this blend of sports psychology and personal development? How can we apply it to our own lives?
Right.
Even if we're not, hitting home runs or winning gold medals.
That's the exciting part, right? The
Yeah.
core message is that these principles of excellence, they're universal.
Okay.
They apply whether you're on the field, in the boardroom, or just, navigating everyday life.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So where do we begin this journey to inner excellence?
Well, both the book and the So Brief point to a surprising starting point, which is letting go of self-obsession.
Really?
It sounds kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
You'd think focusing on yourself would be the key to excellence, but apparently it's a trap.
Yeah, that self-obsession trap the So Brief talks about, it definitely resonates. I know I get caught up in comparing myself to others on social media,
Uh-huh.
and it never really makes me feel good.
Right.
Does the book offer any strategies to break free?
Absolutely. Jim Murphy suggests shifting our focus outward,
Okay.
finding a purpose bigger than ourselves. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how when you volunteer or help someone out,
Yeah,
you kind of forget about your own worries and actually feel more energized?
totally. Like that time I helped my neighbor move.
Right.
I was dreading it,
Yeah.
but I ended up having a blast. It was way more rewarding than, binge watching that show I was planning to.
Exactly. That sense of purpose, of contributing to something beyond ourselves,
Yeah.
it's incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
And it can fuel us to achieve excellence in all areas of our lives.
Okay, so shifting our focus outward, check. But what about that other big obstacle? The one we all face, fear.
Right.
I mean, the So Brief actually states that fear of failure is the chief obstacle to freedom and peak performance.
Wow.
That's pretty intense.
It is. And the book dives deeper into the nature of fear.
Okay.
Murphy explains how it often stems from a self-centered perspective,
Okay.
clinging to past failures and anxieties about the future.
Right.
It's like we get stuck in this loop of, what if I mess up again?
Yeah, it's like this constant worry about repeating those mistakes
Yeah.
or not measuring up. The So Brief suggests challenging those limiting beliefs, shifting our focus to personal growth.
Right.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
I mean, fear can be pretty paralyzing.
That's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay.
The book advocates for recognizing and questioning those negative thoughts that hold us back. It's about transforming fear into a catalyst for achievement.
Okay.
Imagine using that nervous energy to prepare even better or to push yourself further.
So instead of letting fear control us, we can learn to control fear.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this leads us to what the book calls the 3 pillars of excellence:
Okay.
love, wisdom, and courage. Now, before you think this is getting too touchy-feely,
Okay. I was just thinking that.
hear me out.
Okay, I'm all ears. Although I have to admit, the So Brief's description of love threw me for a loop. Love is the triumph of imagination over intelligence.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's actually quite brilliant. Love in this context isn't just romantic love.
Yeah.
It's about leading with your heart,
Okay.
connecting with your true self, and showing compassion
See yourself.
to yourself and others.
Okay.
Imagine approaching a challenging situation with kindness rather than judgment.
Yeah.
That's the power of love in action.
Okay, starting to see the connection now.
Right.
So how do wisdom and courage fit into this?
So wisdom, as Jim Murphy defines it, involves expanding your vision,
Okay.
being open to new ideas, continuously learning and growing.
Okay.
Imagine approaching each experience as a chance to gain wisdom,
Even if it's a mistake.
even if it's a mistake.
Okay.
And courage is about being present, embracing challenges head on, and taking risks even when you're afraid.
So it's not just about avoiding fear,
Yeah.
but using it as fuel for growth.
Exactly.
Okay.
When these 3 qualities, love, wisdom, and courage, work together,
Yeah.
we create a powerful approach to life. It's about integrating our heart, our mind, and our actions to overcome obstacles, achieve our goals, and ultimately create truly meaningful experiences.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful trio. And it makes me think, all this talk of excellence.
Right.
Does it mean we need to be winning awards
Yeah,
and accolades to be considered excellent?
that's a great question. And it leads us to another key concept from the book: building a strong sense of self that goes beyond external validation.
Okay.
Things like achievements, possessions, or recognition. The book emphasizes cultivating a deep sense of self-worth.
Okay.
That's not dependent on what others think.
Right. The So Brief hits on this too.
Yeah.
Saying a strong sense of self comes from internal values, personal growth, and sticking to your principles. It lists things like self-acceptance, integrity, continuous learning, purpose-driven living, and emotional resilience. But what does that actually look like in real life?
Imagine this. You're faced with a tough decision at work. Do you choose the path that will get you praise? Or the one that aligns with your values, even if it's harder? That's where a strong sense of self comes in. You make the choice that feels right,
Yeah.
regardless of the external validation.
Okay, I'm starting to see the difference. But still, how do we cultivate that deep sense of self?
Right.
It's not like you can just order it online.
It's a journey, not a destination. But the book offers some really practical guidance,
Okay.
starting with mastering your mind
Okay.
and emotional state. This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yes. This is where I geek out a bit. The So Brief lists a bunch of practical techniques like mindfulness, centering exercises, visualization, affirmations, and breath control. It's almost like a mental toolkit for peak performance.
Right.
But how do these techniques actually work?
They're all about developing awareness of your thoughts and emotions,
Okay.
and then consciously directing your energy toward positive, productive patterns. Think of it like training your mind, like you would train your body, building those mental muscles so you can handle anything life throws at you. And the science behind these practices is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
For example, studies show that just a few minutes of mindfulness meditation a day can actually change the structure of your brain,
Wow.
improving focus, reducing anxiety, and boosting emotional regulation.
So it's not just some woo-woo concept.
No.
It's about rewiring our brains for success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the best part is, these techniques, they're accessible to everyone. You don't need any fancy equipment or special training.
This is making me think, all this focus on the inner stuff,
Yeah.
does that mean we should ignore the outer world? Like what we learn and experience?
Absolutely not. In fact, Jim Murphy emphasizes the importance of challenging our beliefs
Okay.
and expanding our perspective. He even has a quote in the So Brief that I love.
Oh, yeah.
Knowledge is limited, but imagination encircles the world.
That's so true. If we only stick to what we already know, we miss out on so much growth and learning. But how do we go about challenging our beliefs?
Right.
Especially those deeply ingrained ones we might not even be aware of.
It starts with recognizing that our beliefs are not fixed truths,
Okay.
but rather constructs that can be consciously reshaped. The book encourages us to question our assumptions, seek out diverse perspective,
Yeah.
embrace continuous learning
Okay.
with a healthy dose of intellectual humility
Okay.
and curiosity.
So it's like stepping outside of our comfort zones.
Yes.
And being open to new possibilities.
Exactly.
But I think this is where a lot of people struggle.
Uh-huh.
It can be really uncomfortable to challenge our beliefs, especially if they've been with us for a long time.
Absolutely. It's not always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. By questioning our ingrained beliefs, we can break free from self-imposed limitations and unlock incredible potential. Think about it. Is there an area in your life where you've had to challenge your own beliefs? Maybe something you used to believe that you now see differently?
I know for me, I used to believe that success was all about working harder and longer.
Yeah.
But now I realize that it's more about working smarter,
Yes.
prioritizing my well-being,
Yeah.
and focusing on the things that truly matter.
Right.
It's a complete shift in perspective.
And that shift in perspective can make all the difference. It allows us to see the world and ourselves in a whole new light.
Yeah.
And speaking of seeing things in a new light, this leads us to another crucial aspect of inner excellence, embracing the power of presence.
Oh, this is one of my favorite concepts. The So Brief calls it mindful engagement, right? And it's all about cultivating deep awareness of the present moment.
Yes.
Free from those pesky past regrets or future anxieties. It's like hitting the pause button on all the mental chatter
Right.
and just being fully present in the moment.
Yeah.
But how do we actually cultivate presence? It sounds so elusive.
It's a practice, like anything else.
Okay.
And the good news is there are some incredibly effective techniques to help us cultivate presence. The So Brief lists some great ones.
Okay.
Meditation, sensory awareness, accepting current circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude practice, and reducing mental clutter.
So it's not about clearing our minds completely,
No.
but rather learning to manage our thoughts and focus our attention on what's happening right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the benefits of being present are profound. When we're fully engaged in the moment, we experience deeper creativity, enhanced performance, and greater personal satisfaction.
It's like we're finally living life instead of
Mhm.
just going through the motions.
Beautifully put.
Right.
But let's be honest, life isn't always sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
Challenges and setbacks are inevitable.
Uh-huh.
And that brings us to another crucial aspect of inner excellence, building resilience through failing valiantly.
Okay, let's talk about failure.
Right.
It's not exactly a fun topic, but it's something we all have to deal with.
Uh-huh.
And the So Brief shares this powerful quote from the book. There is no greatness without adversity and no growth without failure.
That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but it's so true.
It is, and Jim Murphy really reframes our perspective on failure. He sees it not as an endpoint, but as a crucial part of the learning process.
Right. The So Brief talks about embracing the lessons from setbacks, developing a growth mindset, practicing self-compassion, and analyzing failures objectively.
Yeah.
It also stresses the importance of maintaining persistent effort, even when things get tough.
Yes.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
Right.
It's easy to say embrace failure, but it's a lot harder to do when you're in the thick of it.
I agree. It's not always easy, but it gets easier with practice. The key is to shift our mindset from viewing failure as a reflection of our worth
Yeah.
to seeing it as a valuable feedback mechanism.
So instead of letting failure define us, we can use it as fuel to learn, grow, and come back stronger than ever.
Exactly. And that leads us to another important concept, connecting with a purpose beyond ourselves.
It's about finding that transcendent motivation, something bigger than our own personal achievements.
This is something I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in our own lives, our own goals,
Right?
that we lose sight of the bigger picture.
It's easy to do, but the book and So Brief offer some helpful guidance
Okay, good.
on how to connect with a purpose beyond ourselves. One strategy is to identify your core values.
All right.
What's truly important to you?
Uh-huh.
What are the principles that guide your life?
Right.
So if kindness is one of your core values,
Yeah.
you might volunteer your time at a local charity
Okay.
or simply make a conscious effort to be more kind and compassionate in your daily interactions.
So it's about finding those little pockets of, whatever those values are,
Exactly.
even in the midst of a busy schedule.
And it's not just about expressing your values, it's also about contributing to something larger than yourself. What are your unique talents and skills?
Okay.
How can you use those to make a positive impact on the world?
So it's about finding that intersection
Yes,
between what you're good at and what the world needs.
precisely.
Okay.
And you don't have to start a nonprofit or invent a life-saving technology to make a difference.
Right.
It could be something as simple as volunteering your time at a local soup kitchen or mentoring a young person.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's empowering to know that we all have the power to make a difference,
Yes.
no matter how small.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it's hard to find that motivation
Mm-hmm.
to stay focused on the bigger picture
Right.
when we're bombarded with, everyday distractions and demands.
That's where the book's emphasis on connecting with the community comes in. Humans are social creatures, and we thrive when we feel connected to something larger than ourselves.
So it's not just about finding our individual purpose, but also about finding our tribe,
Exactly.
people who share our passions and values.
Joining a group or organization that aligns with your values
Yeah.
can provide a sense of belonging, purpose, and support. It could be anything from a religious community to a book club to a volunteer organization.
It's like finding your people, those who get you
Yeah,
and inspire you to be your best self.
precisely. And those connections can provide a sense of belonging and purpose
Yeah.
that can sustain us through life's challenges. But even with a strong sense of purpose and a supportive community,
Yeah.
it's still easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and lose sight of our bigger goals.
Right.
And that's where the book's emphasis on continuous learning and growth comes in. It's not just about achieving a certain level of success and then coasting. It's about embracing the journey of self-mastery
Right.
as a lifelong pursuit.
The So Brief highlights this too, talking about embracing lifelong learning, developing self-awareness, practicing disciplined reflection, and seeking diverse experiences. But what does that look like in a practical sense?
It could be anything from reading books and listening to podcasts,
Huh?
to attending workshops and conferences, to having conversations with people who have different perspectives than your own.
Yeah.
The key is to stay curious,
Yeah.
challenge yourself, and never stop learning and growing.
This is reminding me of something you mentioned earlier
Yeah,
about how the book blends ancient wisdom with modern research.
right?
Can you give us some examples of how that plays out in the book?
Sure. One example is the book's discussion of mindfulness.
Okay.
Mindfulness is an ancient practice that's been around for centuries, but in recent years,
Yeah.
it's gained a lot of attention in the scientific community.
Okay.
There's a growing body of research showing the profound benefits of mindfulness for our mental, emotional, and physical health.
Yeah.
The book does a great job of weaving together these ancient practices
Uh-huh.
with the latest scientific findings,
Okay.
making it both practical and insightful.
It's like taking the best of both worlds.
Yes.
The wisdom of the ages and the cutting-edge insights of modern science.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what makes this book so compelling. It's not just a rehash of old ideas.
Right.
It's a fresh and engaging take on personal growth, grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern research.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
From overcoming self-obsession to embracing failure,
Yeah.
from mastering our minds to finding our purpose.
It's a lot.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. But before we dive even deeper,
Okay.
let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
That's a great idea. It's important to pause and integrate these insights, to let them sink in. What's resonating with you the most so far?
You know, honestly, what's standing out to me is the emphasis on self-compassion.
Yeah.
I think it's something we all need more of in our lives, especially in today's fast-paced, high-pressure world. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to be kind to ourselves.
I agree. Self-compassion is such a powerful practice. It allows us to be more resilient in the face of challenges,
Yeah.
more forgiving of our mistakes, and more accepting of ourselves, flaws and all.
And it's not about being lazy
Yeah.
or complacent.
Right.
It's about creating a foundation of inner strength
Yes.
and resilience
Uh-huh.
that allows us to show up more fully in the world.
Beautifully said. Now, are you ready to dive back in?
Yes.
We've got so much more to explore.
Absolutely. Let's keep going.
You know, it's fascinating how this book, it blends like the world of athletic performance with these broader life lessons.
Yeah, right.
You wouldn't necessarily think a performance coach for elite athletes
Right.
would have so much wisdom to share about.
Exactly.
They know.
Self-acceptance and purpose.
Right.
What really struck me was how Jim Murphy takes these principles that are often used to train athletes for peak performance
Uh-huh.
and shows how they can apply to any area of life.
Exactly.
So it's not just for athletes.
Right.
It's for anyone who wants to, level up their game.
Yeah.
Whatever that game may be.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that inner drive,
Yeah.
that desire to be our best selves,
Uh-huh.
and then using these proven strategies to make it happen.
Yeah, it's like having a secret weapon
Right.
in your back pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those practical applications.
Okay.
What are some specific examples from the book or the So Brief that really resonated with you?
One that comes to mind is the emphasis on visualization.
Oh, yeah.
Athletes use this technique all the time
Right.
to mentally rehearse their performance,
Uh-huh.
but the book suggests we can use it in our own lives too,
Okay.
to achieve our goals.
Okay.
Imagine yourself, acing that job interview
Oh, yeah.
or delivering that killer presentation. It's
Yeah.
like creating a mental blueprint for success.
Oh, I love that. I'm a very visual person.
Yeah,
So I can totally see how this would work.
right.
It's like creating a movie in your mind
Uh-huh.
of yourself succeeding,
Hmm.
really feeling those positive emotions.
Yeah.
But how does this actually work in the brain?
Yeah.
Is it just wishful thinking? Or is there something more to it?
It's actually backed by science.
Oh, wow.
When you visualize yourself succeeding.
You're essentially priming your neural pathways for success.
Okay.
You're creating those connections in your brain,
Yeah.
making it more likely that you'll actually achieve what you're visualizing.
Right.
Imagine it like practicing a tennis serve.
Okay.
The more mental reps you do,
Yeah.
the stronger those neural connections become,
Yeah.
and the more likely you are to hit that ace when it counts.
It's like giving yourself a mental advantage
Exactly.
before you even step onto the court
Right.
or into the boardroom,
Or onto the stage, yeah.
whatever your arena may be.
Exactly.
Another technique I found helpful was the idea of centering exercises.
Oh, yeah.
These are practices that help us stay grounded and focused,
Okay.
especially when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
The So Brief mentions things like breath work and mindfulness
Hmm.
as examples of centering exercises.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you found particularly helpful?
The book goes into a lot of detail about different types of centering exercises.
Okay. But one that I found really simple and effective is called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique.
Okay.
You simply take a moment to notice 5 things you can see,
Okay.
4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear,
Mhm.
2 things you can smell,
Okay.
and 1 thing you can taste. It's a quick and easy way to bring your attention back to the present moment
Yeah.
and calm your nervous system.
That's so cool. I'm definitely going to try that one.
Yeah.
It seems like something you could do anywhere, anytime.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of these techniques.
Right.
They're portable and adaptable.
Yeah.
You can use them at work, at home, on the go.
Now, one thing I really appreciated about this book was its emphasis on self-compassion.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to be hard on ourselves.
It is.
Especially when we make mistakes.
Right.
We tend to focus on our flaws and shortcomings,
Uh-huh.
and it can be really discouraging.
Absolutely. But the book reminds us that everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
It's part of being human.
Yeah.
The key is to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding
Yeah.
that we would offer to a good friend.
It's like that saying,
Yeah.
be kind to yourself, you're doing the best you can.
Exactly.
But sometimes it's easier said than done.
It takes practice, for sure.
Yeah.
But the more we cultivate self-compassion,
Yeah.
the more resilient we become.
Right.
We're less likely to get derailed by setbacks
Uh-huh.
and more likely to bounce back stronger than ever.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like building an inner support system.
Right.
So we're not so reliant on external validation.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to the idea of purpose.
Yes.
The book talks about finding a purpose beyond yourself.
Right.
But how do we actually go about doing that?
Yeah.
It can feel really overwhelming,
It can
like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
It can be a journey, but the book offers some great starting points.
Okay.
One is to identify your core values,
Okay.
those guiding principles that are most important to you.
Yeah.
What do you stand for? Uh-huh.
What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
Okay, so let's say one of my core values is creativity.
Okay.
How would I go about aligning my actions with that value?
Right.
Does that mean I need to quit my day job and become a starving artist?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about finding ways to express your creativity in your everyday life.
Okay.
Maybe you start a blog,
Uh-huh.
take a pottery class,
Right.
or simply make an effort to bring more beauty into your surroundings.
So it's about finding those little pockets of creativity,
Exactly.
even in the midst of a busy schedule.
And it's not just about expressing your values.
Mhm.
It's also about contributing to something larger than yourself.
Okay.
What are your unique talents and skills?
Right.
How can you use those to make a positive impact on the world?
So it's about finding that intersection
Yes.
between what you're good at
Uh-huh.
and what the world needs.
Precisely.
Okay.
And you don't have to start a nonprofit
Right.
or invent a life-saving technology to make a difference. Yeah.
It could be something as simple as volunteering your time at a local soup kitchen
Uh-huh.
or mentoring a young person.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's empowering to know that we all have the power to make a difference no matter how small.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it's hard to find that motivation
Yeah.
to stay focused on the bigger picture when we're bombarded with everyday distractions and demands.
That's where the book's emphasis on connecting with a community comes in.
Okay.
Humans are social creatures,
Right.
and we thrive when we feel connected to something larger than ourselves.
So it's not just about finding our individual purpose,
Right.
but also about finding our tribe,
Exactly.
people who share our passions and values.
Joining a group or organization that aligns with your values
Yeah.
can provide a sense of belonging, purpose, and support.
Uh-huh.
It could be anything from a religious community to a book club to a volunteer organization.
So it's like finding your people, those who get you
Yes,
and inspire you to be your best self.
precisely. And those connections can provide a sense of belonging and purpose
Yeah.
that can sustain us through life's challenges.
But even with a strong sense of purpose
Uh-huh.
and a supportive community,
Yeah.
it's still easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and lose sight of our bigger goals.
Right.
And that's where the book's emphasis on continuous learning and growth comes in.
Exactly.
It's not just about achieving a certain level of success and then coasting.
Right.
It's about embracing the journey of self-mastery
Yes.
as a lifelong pursuit.
A lifelong pursuit, exactly.
The So Brief highlights this too, talking about embracing lifelong learning, developing self-awareness, practicing disciplined reflection, and seeking diverse experiences.
Yeah.
But what does that look like in a practical sense?
It could be anything from reading books and listening to podcasts to attending workshops and conferences to having conversations with people who have different perspectives than your own.
Right.
The key is to stay curious, challenge yourself, and never stop learning and growing.
This is reminding me of something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
About how the book blends ancient wisdom with modern research.
Right.
Can you give us some examples of how that plays out in the book?
Sure. One example is the book's discussion of mindfulness.
Okay.
Mindfulness is an ancient practice that has been around for centuries.
Right.
But in recent years, it's gained a lot of attention in the scientific community.
Right.
There's a growing body of research showing the profound benefits of mindfulness for our mental, emotional, and physical health. The book does a great job of weaving together these ancient practices with the latest scientific findings, making it both practical and insightful.
It's like taking the best of both worlds.
Yes.
The wisdom of the ages and the cutting-edge insights of modern science.
Exactly.
Cool.
And that's what makes this book so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a rehash of old ideas.
Right.
It's a fresh and engaging take on personal growth, grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern research.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
From overcoming self-obsession to embracing failure.
Yeah.
From mastering our minds to finding our purpose.
It's a lot.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
But before we dive even deeper,
okay,
let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
A great idea. It's important to pause. And integrate these insights to let them sink in.
Right.
What's resonating with you the most so far?
You know, honestly, what's standing out to me is the emphasis on self-compassion.
Yeah.
I think it's something we all need more of in our lives, especially in today's fast-paced, high-pressure world.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to be kind to ourselves.
I agree. Self-compassion is such a powerful practice.
Yeah.
It allows us to be more resilient in the face of challenges, more forgiving of our mistakes, and more accepting of ourselves, flaws, and all.
And it's not about being lazy or complacent.
Right.
It's about creating a foundation of inner strength and resilience that allows us to show up more fully in the world.
Beautifully said. Now, are you ready to dive back in?
Yes.
We've got so much more to explore.
Absolutely. Let's keep going. You know, before we started this deep dive, I was a little skeptical about this whole inner excellence thing. I thought it might be a bit too, I don't know.
Woo!
Yeah, woo-woo for me. But after going through all this material, I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah.
It's not just like some feel-good fluff, you know?
Right.
It's grounded in practical strategies and backed by science.
It really is. It's a blend of ancient wisdom and modern research, offering a really holistic approach to personal growth.
And what I appreciate most is that it's not about achieving some, like, unattainable ideal of perfection.
Right.
It's about progress, not perfection.
That's a crucial distinction. It's about embracing the journey with all its imperfections and striving to be a little bit better each day.
Right. It's about those small, like, incremental improvements that compound over time, eventually leading to significant transformation.
Like building a muscle. It takes consistent effort and dedication, but the results are worth it.
Now, I'm curious, what's one specific takeaway from this deep dive you're going to try to implement in your own life?
For me, it's the emphasis on mindfulness.
Oh, yeah.
I've dabbled in meditation before, but this book has really inspired me to make it a more consistent practice.
I'm with you on that. I've been feeling so scattered lately.
Right.
And I think mindfulness could really help me focus and be more present, you know, in the moment.
It's such a powerful practice. Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Speaking of making a difference, this whole idea of, like, connecting with a purpose beyond ourselves really resonated with me. I think it's something we could all benefit from, especially in today's world where it's so easy to feel disconnected and overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves,
Yeah,
and that our actions have ripple effects.
right. It's not just about achieving our own personal goals, but also about making a positive impact on the world around us.
And that impact doesn't have to be huge or earth-shattering. It can start with small acts of kindness
Yeah,
and compassion.
in our everyday lives.
Like smiling at a stranger, holding the door open for someone,
Right.
or simply listening with empathy when a friend is going through a tough time.